Let's get to Tim Walz, who, just when you think no one's sitting at this table, neither she nor the big white blanket, can embarrass themselves any further, he does. She asks him, to her credit, about the carrying the weapons in war, which we know is a lie. He never served in war. He's been stealing valor for quite...
Tim Walz has spent years coasting on a polished reputation as Minnesota's friendly, easygoing leader, the smiling governor with the neighborly, or shucks demeanor. But when Megyn Kelly turns her attention toward him, that cheerful exterior quickly shows its cracks. Under her scrutiny, the persona he's built doesn't just wobble, it collapses. Kelly doesn't simply question his image. She cuts straight through it, exposing inconsistencies, mistakes, and the opportunism hidden behind his practiced smile. What used to look effortless and genuine suddenly appears flimsy and over-rehearsed. With Kelly's relentless criticism peeling back the layers, his once solid legacy starts to look like a fragile facade ready to fall apart at the slightest push.
Also out on the new media tour and trying to help her when he's not defending his comments on the Electoral College. And he sits down with Michael Strahan, who's the best thing ABC has going. And Strahan actually asks him about his many, many lies. There's a much longer list than actually came up, but he did raise it to his credit. Here's how that...
For a long time, Tim Walz has sold himself as the down-to-earth leader, the wholesome Midwestern dad type who governs with a casserole-carrying, small-town charm. He leans hard on that Minnesota nice persona, the kind of guy you'd expect to see laughing with neighbors at a Sunday potluck. But the moment Megyn Kelly locks in on him, that carefully curated image doesn't just shake. It folds in on itself like a bargain bin lawn chair in a gust of wind. Beneath the warm grin and mild-mannered delivery sits a politician who has tried to straddle every possible viewpoint, shifting his stance depending on who's listening. And Kelly doesn't leave any of those contradictions standing. She tears through his narrative piece by piece, exposing the empty space behind the performance. The everyman character Walz puts on isn't sincerity, it's a stage act. And once Kelly turns up the heat, the whole script goes up in flames.
You carried weapons in war, but you have never deployed actually in a war zone. A campaign official said that you misspoke. Did you?
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly proud. I've done 24 years of wearing the uniform of this country. Equally proud of my service in a public school classroom, whether it's Congress or the governor. My record speaks for itself, but I think people are coming to get to know me. I speak like they do. I speak candidly. I wear my emotions on my sleeves, and I speak especially passionately about our children being shot.
If you're enjoying this video, make sure to subscribe and tap the bell so you don't miss a single moment. Megyn Kelly doesn't just notice Tim Walz's contradictions, she exposes them in full glare, like a searchlight catching a raccoon frozen in the yard. Walz has long marketed himself as the steady, dependable Midwestern hand, the calm voice steering the state through turbulence. But under Kelly's scrutiny, that image crumbles. Here is a man who juggles promises, telling one thing to one audience and whispering the opposite to another, hoping no one will compare notes. His Minnesota nice facade collapses instantly under her spotlight, revealing not a leader, but someone clinging desperately to a safe, palatable image. Kelly hits the heart of the matter. Walz is neither inspiring nor memorable. He's the human equivalent of beige wallpaper, bland, forgettable, and glaringly out of place once you notice it. With every inconsistency she uncovers, his carefully crafted reputation unravels, leaving only emptiness in its wake.
That just aren't true. And the comment about weapons of war that I carried in war, which you didn't. You said that you were in Hong Kong during the Tiananmen Square massacre when you weren't. You kind of chalked it all up to bad grammar or getting the dates wrong. Yeah. But your opponents say you lied to make yourself look better. Do they have a point?
Well, look, 35 years ago, got the opportunity to be in Hong Kong, be in China, learned a lot about it, served 24 years in the National Guard, passionately, in an instance, talking about gun violence in school.
The real flaw in Tim Walz's brand of leadership is simple. It thrives on ignoring problems until they become impossible to hide. When crime spikes, he offers a shrug and a hollow line about community values, as if a catchphrase could tame chaos in the streets. When schools falter and education struggles, he shows up for a staged classroom photo op, nodding along with teachers as if smiles and handshakes could fix systemic failures. Then, just as quickly, he disappears, leaving students, parents, and educators to wrestle with the same issues alone. Genuine progress remains as fleeting as a Minnesota summer longer than 2 weeks. Megyn Kelly doesn't just call out this pattern. She dismantles it, exposing how Walz has turned governance into theater, posing beside problems rather than solving them. To Kelly, this isn't leadership. It's an illusion carefully constructed for the cameras, and when the lights go out, the people are left to face the cold reality of neglect and empty promises.
Fallout continues for Tim Walz on the disastrous performance he delivered, in particular when it comes to his self-described knuckle-headed behavior, which was just his latest in a series of lies. The reason he resorted to, "I'm a knucklehead," was he got confronted with his latest lie.
Megyn Kelly doesn't just target Tim Walz's lack of substance. She dissects the endless contradictions that seem to define him. He presents himself as a champion of small-town values, yet many of his policies read like they were crafted in distant, detached bureaucratic offices. He preaches freedom and personal responsibility, but when government overreach benefits his allies, he applauds without hesitation. Kelly exposes each of these inconsistencies with surgical precision, tearing apart the glossy persona Walz works so hard to project. The result isn't a portrait of a steady leader, it's the silhouette of a political chameleon, constantly shifting colors to fit the environment, blending in when convenient, disappearing when accountability knocks. Conviction is nowhere to be found. Kelly reveals a governor guided by survival, calculating each move not to lead but to cling to relevance. In her telling, Walz isn't steering Minnesota forward. He's simply pivoting in place, waiting for the wind to chart his course.
People know me. They know who I am. They know where my heart is. And again, my record has been out there for over 40 years to speak for itself.
And the idea that you said that you were in war,
Yeah.
Did you misspeak as the campaign has said?
Yeah, I said we were talking about, in this case, this was after a school shooting, the ideas of carrying these weapons of war. And my wife, the English teacher, told me my grammar is not always correct. But again, if it's not this, it's an attack on my children for showing love for me, or it's an attack on my dog.
This took chutzpah. Let's go through it. You said you carried weapons in war, but you've never deployed in a war zone. A campaign official of yours said you misspoke. Did you? Well, I'm proud, incredibly proud of my record.
What makes Megyn Kelly's takedown particularly scorching is how she tears into Tim Walz's record on crisis management. It's here that the cracks in his leadership gape wide open. During the pandemic, Walz cast himself as the vigilant protector of public safety, doling out mandates as casually as Halloween candy. But his mixed messages left Minnesotans bewildered rather than reassured. Calm words and soft tones didn't mask the truth. His administration was adrift. Behind the scenes, management resembled a garage sale in a downpour. Chaotic, sloppy, and utterly unpredictable. Rules changed by the day, priorities flipped overnight, and excuses spilled out like a student scrambling to justify forgotten homework. Stability was nowhere to be found. The public was left reeling from constant reversals wrapped in hollow reassurances that solved nothing. Kelly doesn't let him off the hook. She exposes the so-called steady hand as a facade, leaving families to navigate the fallout while his leadership sinks in a sea of confusion.
On Earth, there's a long list of them. This one was that he was in China when the Tiananmen Square disaster unfolded, when hundreds of people were killed. You know whether you were in a place where hundreds of people are being massacred by their government when it happens. But he continues to try to say, like, oh, gee, I was just kind of confused. You know, that happened in May and I was there in August, but I guess I just imagined that I was there, whatever. So he got asked about that debate moment where he completely melted.
Tim Walz's contradictions on policing and public safety aren't just visible. They loom large. Megyn Kelly makes sure every fracture is laid bare. On camera, he talks tough in support of law enforcement, projecting the image of a composed, decisive leader. Off camera, the moment progressive activists push back, he folds faster than a paper plate at a backyard cookout. Under his so-called guidance, disorder spread, and when communities needed decisive action, all they got was hesitation dressed up as empathy, a solution that solved nothing. Kelly relentlessly exposes how he dodged responsibility during social unrest, proving that his speeches full of compassion never restored peace or rebuilt trust. She likens his leadership to a Minnesota winter, long, grueling, and filled with promises that spring is just around the corner, yet it never arrives when it's needed most. Even his supposedly relatable anecdotes about growing up in Nebraska or teaching high school feel less like real experience and more like staged political cosplay, designed for applause rather than authenticity. In Kelly's view, every story, every gesture, every smile is just another costume change in an act too tired to convince anyone anymore.
they're comparing this moment by Tim Walz to that because he looked so inept and like a faker, like he didn't belong there and he was trying to convince us of something that wasn't real as he decided to go pheasant hunting. And Charlie, you're a gun guy. You tell me whether this looked authentic to you. Here he is.
That's my theory.
And it never fits quite right.
Never fits quite right. Just not quite right. How do you give it back?
Governor, what kind of gun is it?
This is a Beretta A400.
Megyn Kelly tears apart the notion that Tim Walz is just one of us, pointing out the absurdity of pretending he's still the down-to-earth neighbor he claims to be. After years trapped in the political bubble, his only memory of small-town life comes scripted from consultants. She wields the same precision on his economic record, revealing that his so-called fiscal stewardship has produced little more than higher taxes, bloated budgets, and underperforming services, a recipe for frustration for hardworking taxpayers. It's like filling a kitchen with every shiny gadget imaginable, only to realize you still can't cook a decent meal. Kelly skewers his national ambitions with sharp humor, likening them to a man who can barely run a lemonade stand suddenly declaring he's ready to take over Starbucks. In her eyes, Walz has mistaken photo ops for leadership, applause for results, and slogans for solutions. Under her relentless scrutiny, his carefully crafted image doesn't just wobble. It crumbles completely, revealing a governor who relies on illusion rather than action.
Equally proud of my service in the classroom. Did I mention I was a teacher and a coach, an assistant coach? Okay, whatever. But he's more stolen valor. In the classroom, I'm in the classroom. My record speaks for itself. It doesn't actually. You've put a lot of lies into that record that you've been called out on by service personnel. You must clarify, as your campaign had tried to do. And now you appear to be distancing yourself from that clarification. And then here's, two pieces of this that are really, I speak like they do. People are coming to get to know me. I speak like they do. I speak candidly. I wear my emotions on my sleeves. And I speak especially passionately about, and then he goes on to blame it on the school shootings. I guess he was upset about school shootings, so he lied. But stop saying you speak.
Megyn Kelly goes further, tearing apart the myth that Tim Walz is a unifier and turning the narrative his defenders cling to upside down. The only unity he inspires is when people across the political spectrum collectively roll their eyes at his speeches. Democrats call him overly cautious, Republicans label him reckless, and independents see a man so indecisive he couldn't make a bold move if his life depended on it. The unifier label isn't earned. It's a cruel joke. Walz has only brought people together through shared disappointment, not vision or leadership. In today's volatile climate, mediocrity isn't harmless, it's dangerous. Kelly drives that point home with unflinching precision, shattering the Minnesota nice facade and revealing a governor far from the calm, steady hand his imagemakers tout. She exposes him as adrift, unable to navigate crises, and utterly unworthy of the pedestal his carefully curated image tries to build.
And Vice President Harris said that she told you to be a little bit more careful on how you say things.
Well, I did it, even the other day of just speaking passionately about these gun violence situations and meeting with these survivors. I wear my emotions on my sleeve, and I do think in these positions, whether it be governor or being vice president of the United States, you do need to be careful. You do need to be a little more thoughtful on it.
Okay, guys, I will submit to you that the American people are not dumb. And I would submit to you that the American people will look over "I'm friends with school shooters," which he said in that vice presidential debate, as him misspeaking. Everyone will give him that grace. But it's not going to work on this litany of other lies because you don't misspeak over and over.
Tim Walz isn't a leader, he's a survivor. He drifts through scandals and criticism with a practiced smile, quietly climbing upward while leaving failure in his wake. Megyn Kelly lays it bare with unflinching clarity. Behind every warm grin and soft-spoken answer lies a career built not on vision, but on careful evasion, dodging hard questions and letting real problems fester. The very smile he counted on as a shield becomes a bullseye under Kelly's scrutiny, revealing a hollow core beneath the charm. His entire strategy relies on the public forgetting, moving on, or simply not paying attention. While he recycles empty slogans and bets on politics' short memory, his administration runs from accountability like it's contagious, burying tough questions in layers of bureaucracy, rehearsed talking points, or endless delays until outrage fades. Kelly calls it what it is, not leadership, but a shell game, where cracks are painted over with fresh whitewash while the rot underneath grows wider and deeper every day.
Wednesday in Pennsylvania, and here's how he handled it.
I have my dates wrong. I was in Hong Kong and China in 1989. That move from Hong Kong into China, it was profound for me. That was the summer of democracy. I said it's where I understood how sacred democracy was. It's what encouraged me about 15 back and forth with my students, taking them to China. I speak like everybody else speaks. I need to be clear, I will tell you that, but here's my whole point on that thing with China. I do understand China a hell of a lot better than Donald Trump. Kamala Harris understands.
The cracks in Tim Walz's leadership are most glaring in education, where he has long painted himself as Minnesota's champion for the future. The results, however, tell a different story. Reading and math scores have plummeted, classrooms buckle under failed policies, parents grow frustrated with empty promises, and teachers are left exhausted, carrying burdens without meaningful solutions. Walz's big answer? Throw more money at a broken system with no accountability or guarantee of improvement. Megyn Kelly seizes on this hypocrisy, showing how he speaks endlessly about opportunity for every child while delivering nothing beyond a stagnant status quo dressed in glossy rhetoric. Equity without results, she argues, is just expensive window dressing. The cracks extend into the economy, supposedly Walz's strong suit. He boasts of creating opportunity, yet countless Minnesotans feel stuck, overtaxed, and stretched thin, treading water as costs pile up. Kelly slices through the polished optics, exposing a governor who mistakes appearances for achievement, leaving the state spinning in circles while citizens bear the cost of leadership that delivers little but rhetoric.
Instance there, proud of the service that I've done, proud to be a teacher in that classroom, proud to have been very public all these years and owning it when I, said, look, I was there in August of '89. And I think the policies, whether it be dealing with China and understanding China's human rights record, what you can be certain there is that Kamala Harris and I aren't going to, pick dictators on speed dial.
Well, but it's one of the things with trust. So there are going to be some people who say, we can't trust him to even tell the truth about himself.
Yeah.
What do you say to them?
Well, I said they know who I am. I know who I am. I know the work that I've done. I know that things get spun in a political.
The most devastating critique comes when Megyn Kelly exposes Tim Walz's habit of following rather than leading, showing how he has perfected the art of waiting to see which way the wind blows and calling it courage. During the George Floyd protests, Walz wavered for weeks, caught between activists demanding sweeping change and citizens desperate for safety. In the end, he disappointed both sides. Too soft for some, too harsh for others, proving that indecision isn't balance, it's failure masquerading as moderation. Kelly doesn't mince words. She calls it exactly what it is: hesitation disguised as leadership, fear cloaked in thoughtfulness. Schools remained closed far longer than necessary. Businesses collapsed under drawn-out restrictions, and families suffered mentally, emotionally, and financially while Walz clung to caution until political pressure forced his hand. His governorship, she argues, isn't a story of vision or strength. It's a chronicle of fear, delay, and missed opportunities, leaving ordinary families to clean up the shattered pieces. Under Kelly's unflinching spotlight, the myth of steady leadership crumbles entirely, exposing a politician who never truly led. He merely followed, always too late.